Welcome to the next in our series of videos on communication. We titled this series, Communication is More Than Talking. So this time we're going to spend a little bit of time looking at the use of questions, specifically how questions help leaders to create the right sort of relationships, right sort of teams. So we thought we'd get my colleagues involved here at Results Catalyst a bit more, and particularly we're going to be asking Sam Elly for his views on different questions and why they're helpful. So watch his comments, watch his thoughts and tips, and see if you can find some value there for you as a leader in your business.
Hi Sam, why do you think questions are so important?
Hi Kaye, why questions are important? I think there's two things why questions are so important for leaders. The first thing is the way that questions can build relationships. If you're asking someone questions, implicitly you're saying, I'm interested in you, I'm interested in what you got to say, you got the opportunity to build a relationship and build rapport, deepen relationships with people, which is really important. And the second side is more about the information gathering side of it. You know, you've got the opportunity to get new information, show curiosity, show a willingness to learn and actually gather new information. Quite often leaders aren't as close to customers, aren't as close to, the shop floor. And it's a great way to get new information, new insights. It's why reverse mentoring is becoming so popular in some big organizations where C-suite leaders are being paired with younger, less experienced employees to really get advice, a chance to ask those less experienced staff, what's going on? So I think they're incredibly important for those reasons and probably many more beyond.
Sam, what advice would you give a leader wanting to use a more questioning style?
Hi Anne, my advice would be, firstly, maybe if it's not your normal style, perhaps to have a conversation with your staff, with the people you're going to start asking more questions and explaining the reasons you're doing it. Because you want to empower them, because you want to create new ideas, because you want to hear more from them and encourage their development. And just say, think you might notice a difference in style. The second thing is just give it a go and see what can happen. What's the worst that can happen? Just have some fun with it and see what happens with it from the responses from your team. And thirdly, I want to rather unusually quote a Rudyard Kipling poem because I find this useful, and I'll explain why in a second. I keep 6 honest serving men. They taught me all I knew. Their names are what and where and when and how and why and who. And the reason I share that is because sometimes when you want to start asking more questions as a leader, the words aren't there. The semantics of getting good, big, open questions are difficult to grasp because we're often programmed to elicit shorter responses. But if you deal with those big, juicy, open questions that start with the words in Rudyard Kipling's poem, you're more likely to stimulate thinking and new ideas. So that's the final thing. Just develop a bank of good, open questions that are going to get your team thinking and speaking.
Hi Sam, my question to you. Doesn't asking questions imply a lack of knowledge on the part of a leader?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, Jonathan. Thank you. I have the privilege of running an ILM, Institute of Leadership and Management, accredited coaching program. And I get a lot of leaders on that program wishing to develop their coaching style leadership. And questioning is clearly a huge part of being a great coaching leader. And they grapple with this. They're used to being seen as the people who can provide the solutions, to provide the answers, to be seen as the expert. But the leader as an expert is kind of outdated now. The idea of a leader is to empower staff and get the most out of them. And that involves building trusted relationships. And asking questions actually helps build trust in a weird way, because what you're showing a bit of vulnerability. You're showing that you don't have all the answers and you're really interested to know the thoughts and suggestions of others. So actually it builds credibility in a way as a leader. It might be a bit of departure and it might need almost a contracting conversation with staff as to this is why I'm doing it. I want to challenge you more. This is why I'm doing it as a leader. I want to get you to develop. And actual fact is backed up by evidence. Daniel Goleman, who's famous for his work on emotional intelligence, did a really good study into emotionally intelligent leaders. And he took a sample of top execs from this side of the Atlantic and the other, and looked into the different styles they had and which were the most effective. And the interesting thing from my perspective, from someone who's passionate about coaching, is two things. Number one, coaching was actually identified as a leadership style. That was quite new at the time, but one that was not very well used amongst the sample. The second one was that coaching was actually the best style for developing the people around the leaders. So it's the less used, but the most useful for developing others. So that's a really strong kind of, for a leader to adopt the mindset of, I want to start using questioning a bit more. It's a really good mindset to have.
Hi Sam, my question to you. What's the best question you've heard a leader use?
That's a great question. I've heard loads of great questions from leaders, but the one I really like, I've heard this a couple of times, is what am I missing? And for a leader to say, what am I missing? Is a really powerful thing, because firstly it says, I haven't got all the answers and I need you guys to gather round and lend your brains to this. And I value that input because it's useful. And you might come up with stuff that I haven't come up with, but also the way it's phrased, what are we missing here, kind of provokes the thought, it creates an assumption that we've missed stuff, that we haven't yet completed. It's great in problem solving. What are we missing here? It provokes further thinking that the team might not have embarked upon if it wasn't for that question. So I've seen that work really well a couple of times. I love that question.
So some really good tips there by Sam. Things that he covered within. Let's just try and summarise some of those. So leaders can use questions to create interest and curiosity in what's being talked about. That thereby helps build collaboration between people, help them to get involved, help them to become more of a team and work together. But it also is a way of showing a leader's vulnerability. And knowledge doesn't all have to come from the leader. It can come from other people in the team. And a leader can show the gaps in their knowledge and use team members to fill those in. So what are the really key points about why we should do this? Firstly, questions build trust. Trust is really important at the moment to leaders when we're working virtually, when we're working from home. Does a leader trust you? Do you trust the leader? Questions help to build that sense of trust between them. On a business front as well, questions lead to new ideas, lead to new information. They bring out new opinions and they help to take things forward. So with questions, we can investigate things, we can get new perspectives. But then finally as well, they create great relationships, showing interest, showing curiosity, showing who we are as well. Questions help us to build relationships in business and in teams, with colleagues, with clients, with suppliers. So, encouragement to use more questions in your communication. Hope you found this valuable and helpful. Thank you very much for your time.